Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is, of course, the mega hit in the chat room, Dr. Homebrew. 11 out of 11 people listening live really enjoy what's happening. Staff inside not included, apparently. Except for Lee. Lee really likes it. I think Brian's comatose. How you all doing, everybody? This is your host, Jason J.P. Petros, and of course, this is Dr. Homebrew, the show that breaks your beer down. And once again, I'll go over the point of the show, since this is a brand new offering for you. The purpose of Dr. Homebrew is to give you honest and interactive feedback. Interactive being the key word here. You send your homebrew in. Not only do we drink it and consume it and get drunk off of it. No, we thoroughly judge it. We have right now in the studio, we have 2 master BJCP judges. And you send your homebrew in, we talk about it on the air, and then we have you on the air to talk about it as well. So if you have any questions about what we've said, or you have any comments about what we said, or thoughts of your own, like, I really feel I'm getting this flavor. Is that just me? Do I need to recalibrate my, my palate, all that kind of nonsense? That's what we're here for, and it's kind of an experience unlike anything other. So, that is Dr. Homebrew. Can you tell I'm nervous because I haven't breathed in like the whole intro for this stupid show that I'm doing right now? Let me turn everybody.
Take a deep breath.
There we go. It's so much easier just to be the jerk on the air who like makes jokes and leans back. It's a lot harder to do this. I'll tell you that right now. Anyway, inside of us right now, we have multiple personalities
and multiple beers.
Yeah, but on the outside, as I mentioned, we have 2 master judges. We have one Brian Cooper and one Lee Shepard. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Good.
And I mind farted. I was trying to do way too much.
Okay.
You were trying to introduce us, I think.
I was trying to, but where I got stuck was, should I say that we just did a show and you guys are a holdover from the other show? Does it matter? And it probably doesn't even matter. I should have just said it and then moved.
Brand new day as far as I'm concerned.
So now we're at the leftover judges.
Right? Yeah. This is called professional radio, Lee. I don't know if you knew that.
Nah, I know. That's how it works.
It looks like professional radio. Yeah.
It smells like it too, but trust me, it's not. At least not when I'm here. So, Brian, you are a master level judge.
Master level, yes.
How long did that take you to get?
I started my quest with we did a study group with the Mad Zymers back in 2008, and I took the exam 3 times. I took it, the whole thing once, and just, it's a crazy experience. The old format exam, it's a experiment in pencil breaking and cramming, pushing out. It wasn't for running out of thoughts. It was just pacing yourself and trying to stay calm and answer all the questions, which I did not quite do. But
yeah,
I didn't miss any questions, but I didn't give the depth that I would have liked to. And you have to do the tasting but anyway, so
yeah, that's the long format, the essay format, right?
Yeah, the legacy exam is 9 essay questions and some true and false or whatever at the top. But yeah, it's just insane. I think the new format is gonna work nicely. It's more focused on the tasting, and you have to take an entrance exam to get into BGSP now, and then pass a 6-beer tasting exam. So, but there's still a path to becoming national master. But just passing the online test and doing the 6-beer tasting exam will get you to up to certified in the BJCP. But yeah. So it's been a journey. It took me, how long did it take me? From 2008 until 2011, so about 3 years, the journey. And yeah.
That's pretty good. Did you have to leave the family behind and go live in some shack in the mountains to just focus your chi on...
Hold up with Trappist monks and, yeah.
You wish.
I wish. Yeah, I do. No, I led a normal life. I just read as many books as I could and studied on every lunch break that I could, and just brought all my BJCP studying materials with me to Subway or wherever I was having lunch, and just break out the binder or the book that I had on deck that day and just kept going through it until I retook the written, wrote a lot more, had more time, and retook the tasting and got to the level I wanted to be at.
And Lee's a buddy of yours, right?
He is. I've known Lee for quite a while. Since 2003-ish, when I started brewing, and I entered a competition that he has run several times called the Bay Area Mashers World Cup of Beer. And with one of my, I think it was my fourth beer, I won a second place in the American Amber Ale category in that back in 2003, which was pretty amazing to me at the time. I have a picture of myself with a big grin on my face, but that's where I met Lee, was that year at World Cup.
I think I even won something in that thing once.
I think you did, actually.
Yeah. Second place for Belgian Dark Strong, I believe.
Yeah.
And my friend tasted it. The first time he tasted it, he spit it out. He goes, "It's too sweet. I can't even swallow it." And whatever. And then I took that ribbon and I shoved it in his face.
I guess the judges there disagreed.
Yeah, I guess so. How long have you been judging, Lee?
About 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did not get quite as concentrated a dose of studying as Brian took on this, but I took the exam probably 15 years ago, and I did it once a few years after that, and then I did it twice more recently to do the written and then the tasting and then the written part to get up to the master rank. I had more than enough points. So, yeah, I've just been at it for a long time, but not very intensely.
Yeah, it's a hard test, man. It's hard, and that's why I just stay whatever rank I am, recognized or certified or whatever.
3 hours of high-velocity chicken scratch in 30-degree warehouse in the middle of winter. It's fun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 27 pages worth.
I'm a rectified level judge.
Ugh, whatever.
No.
Well, today on the show we have two beers, as usual. One is a what am I looking at here? I'm looking at the wrong mouse. I got like 8 computers in front of me. We're going to be talking to Andrew, and Andrew has a Belgian Pale, I believe is what we're tasting from him, right?
Belgian Pale Ale, yeah.
And then we have another in-studio guest, Rylan, and he has a wheat wine.
Yes.
See, I don't think I've ever had a wheat wine, so that'll be real interesting. So hang out. We'll be back right after this. It's Dr. Homebrew.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SanaClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. All right, BN Army, it's trivia time. What's the only homebrew shop with over 1,000 recipe kits, $4.99 shipping on orders over $100, and is also home of the Wolf Shirt? The one and only answer is Austin Homebrew Supply. For over 20 years, they've specialized in creating recipes such as the best-selling Texas Blonde Ale, Apocalypso, Hop Bomb 2.0, and Double Chocolate Stout. And they just recently unveiled their small grain kits that produce 1 gallon of beer. Visit AustinHomebrew.com to browse their extensive catalog of equipment and ingredients. They also have mini clone recipes of your favorite commercial beers. They're the exclusive retailer of BrewVent yeast fuel as well, yeast nutrient, and the all-new Bodybuilder. Follow Austin Homebrew Supply on Google Plus to participate in video hangouts on popular brewing topics. So visit AustinHomebrew.com today and make sure you sign up for their weekly email with news and specials. Austin Homebrew Supply, AustinHomebrew.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Dr. Homebrew. With us online should be our first guest. His name is Andrew. Andrew, you there? Apparently, Andrew is being Father of the Year right now and taking care of his family. Andrew!
Hey.
Gotcha, buddy. How you doing?
It's not my kids. I didn't do it. Someone in the lobby. I'm at Disneyland.
Oh, you're at Disneyland. Oh, man.
Disneyland.
Well, now we're not going to talk about your beer. We're just talking about Disneyland, because I love Disneyland, personally.
Is there good beer at Disneyland?
There is, actually. There is. There's Racer 5. Sometimes there's Torpedo.
I haven't been in so many years.
And they have it's the brewery. Mm-hmm. They have the Brewery Saison in there, and a lot of good mixed drinks and down. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked now. How you doing, Andrew? Thanks for stopping your family vacation for us.
Oh, no problem.
So, all right, guys, what do we have from Andrew? We have a Belgian Pale, correct?
Belgian Pale Ale.
All right, and Andrew, how long have you been homebrewing, man?
3 years.
3 years, and are you primarily extract or all grain?
All grain.
Grain.
One extract batch and all grain ever since.
I
don't even know how to brew with extract. Someone was out.
I feel you on that one. I had to help my friend, and he's like, I'm going to do extract. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So this Belgian Pale you have, how old is it?
I'm going to give you an exact date. It's probably like 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Okay, that's pretty young, man. That's pretty good.
3-4 weeks. Let me look here.
That's fine. 3 or 4 weeks is good. Just a general time. It was a random question that popped up.
Probably about 4. It's October 27th. I brewed it.
Nice. I like this guy already. He's very precise. Knows exactly what's going on. Unlike me. Well, let's jump into the beer. Jeff is still here from the last show. Jeff, why don't you...
Yeah, I know Andrew very well, so I'm going to rip his beer a new... Well, no, never mind.
It's hard judging your friend's beer in front of him live here.
Yeah.
But he's not in the studio, so
it's one thing. Now we can just rip them apart.
Like 5 miles away, so you guys can
exactly
just take a rip if you want.
Take him a few days to come strangle us now.
Right.
I know where Jeff lives, though, so...
No, he's moving, I heard. So.
Same with Cooper.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we'll start with the aroma. So, I'm getting... I get some of the dry orange, maybe a little bit of light pear. There's some fruitiness to the beer that comes across as pretty pleasant. Those are the things that kind of stand out as far as as far as the aroma goes.
Yeah, Lee, what do you think about that?
Yeah, get some toastiness to it. Some of the orange, maybe a little cherry. See, maybe kind of a bruised peach kind of estery character too. And I maybe getting a little bit of acetaldehyde in here, sort of green apple character, kind of light. But I know, were you getting that, Brian?
I'm getting for the malt. I'm getting the esters in it. I'm getting kind of a medium light apricot like ester, which apricot and peach are basically, if you smell one and the other, they smell exactly the same, pretty much. And a light orange kind of pear thing. Not extremely fruity, but enough to beat a style. It's and the very low hops, lightly spicy, and the spiciness is kind of smooth in the hops. There's not a lot of spicy phenols in here that are kind of vague pepperiness kind of in the background. The malt sweetness, I'm getting kind of a corn-like kind of aroma in the malt.
Yeah, I get that. There's a little bit of corn character, a little DMS,
which isn't unpleasant. It just it smells sweet and sometimes young beers to me will have that, and then you'll taste them a couple weeks later, and that'll kind of age out a little bit. But or it could just be from something in the malt. But pleasant aroma for the most part. I'm not getting a big acetaldehyde at all, or if it's in there, it's way in the background for me. But
not big, just maybe a whisper of it.
It might be dissipating too. Or
now, Andrew, what do you want to get out of us checking your beer out here? Are you looking to improve the recipe, or are you getting low scores, or what's going on?
Well, this first shot at Belgian Pale Ale. Done a lot of beers and never made a Belgian Pale Ale. Can't really get a whole lot. I mean, there's a couple out Trappist occasionally, but it's not a style I really know. So I'm going to Brussels in April, so I figured I better brew something. So.
Oh man, you're going everywhere. Look at you, Disneyland, Brussels. the moon's probably next for you. I don't know. Okay, well, so you're just looking for just general feedback, right, on how to dial in the style?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, cool, great. It's always good to know, just so what we can focus on. The appearance, I think the appearance is pretty good. Is it a little too dark for the style? Or is that me misreading the style? I mean, it's a little, it's kind of dark straw, kind of.
I'd say it's
golden straw.
It's fine, yeah.
It's good, yeah. I think it's actually, it can range from amber to copper in color.
Okay.
So this is actually on the lighter end for the style. It's kind of an ambery colored beer, and the head was it's faded away now, but it was kind of a medium low white head with fine bubbles that persisted fairly well. Kind of very very fine bubbles actually, and
yeah, it's super,
nice looking beer.
Yeah, it's super clear too. I mean, it's almost crystal. I mean, it's very, you can see right through it, which is nice.
Great. What about the flavor? Let's move on to that.
I think the things that stick out to me kind of are there's some grassy notes, and there's a little bit of there's some phenolics to it. There's a little bit of the clove coming through on the phenolic, which is nice from the Belgian character, the yeast. But there's a little, and then this is where the masters come in. But there's a little bit something funky to it. I don't know if it's musty or you guys probably have a better definition. Maybe if you're getting some of what I'm getting.
I think it's very malt balanced beer, and there's a fair amount of fruitiness in the flavor, and the aroma of the fruitiness is pretty mellow, but in the flavor it really comes out, and that oranginess and almost kind of a rind-like kind of fruit characteristic, but not unpleasant. Just kind of medium sweet, and the malt is there's a little kind of honey-like. The corn-like aspect is not really intense. It's just kind of an element of it, and it's pretty smooth malt. Clean fermentation is apparent. Ale fermentation characteristics. The fruitiness is obviously there, and it's pretty substantial, as it should be for the style. And the yeast character, which you should have some kind of a pepperiness or very spicinesses to it. It's a little lacking on that front, which for a Belgian style I kind of want a little more of that, and for a Belgian pale ale, which haven't had a classic example of it in a while, but just reading the descriptions from the BJCP, it should be peppery, spicy phenols, kind of in the, at least in the background, and low amounts. So I'm not really getting a lot of peppery, and they're very, very background. But it's not like a beer that was fermented with an American yeast either. So I'm just kind of picking fine points there. But it's the yeast character is kind of there in the background, and it's not very prominent. It's mostly a malty beer.
Yeah, I'd say it's more about the malt. I'm not really getting musty, to Jeff's comment, but there's sort of this combination, this kind of orange oil flavor, a little bit of those peppery phenols, a little biscuity, toasty. I could see sort of giving that kind of a flavor. It's not really like a beer de garde kind of mustiness or anything like that to me.
Is it oxidized? Is it a little paper, or is it just? Or is it just me
I
being
wasn't
whacked
really
out?
getting that. I wasn't really getting that.
I can kind of see where you're talking like a musty, moldy thing, but I wonder if it had something to do maybe more with a mouthfeel, or like a dry astringency kind of.
There's definitely astringency to
like
it.
Prickly on the tongue, and maybe that is working with a malt somehow to make this sort of funky. I think I know what you mean. Anyway.
It's a Belgian character, but it to me it's a little bit. So it's a little bit off. Like I'm not sure how to describe it, but and that's where the masters come in to kind of describe those flavors to us. That they make such illustrious.
I would,
words.
Once we get into the process, I'd like to know what temperature was fermented at. But,
we'll go
about that.
All right, mouthfeel. What do you think about that?
It's medium bodied. It's got a fairly persistent carbonation. It's just kind of a medium high carbonation.
Is there an astringency there? Is that
yeah? There's a bit of astringency there, kind of a medium low astringency.
But I don't think it's out of style whack, is it?
No, yeah, probably from the the phenolic beers can can give you a little astringency in the flavor. There's a lot of different things in beer that can give astringency, besides just everyone that is a judge always says, watch your sparge temperature. That's the classic feedback for it. But it could come from the malt. It could come from the hops. It could come from the yeast character, even driving some phenols up in there. So there's a lot of different things that can push phenols up, and they're not always that can push astringent character up, and it's not always a flaw at low levels. And this is not a highly astringent beer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of astringency. It's probably, again, some sort of... I think there's a lot of synergy from various diverse small amounts of things in here. The orange oil thing, the phenols. It gives a little bit of astringency, a little bit of drying. The body is okay. It's probably a little on the low side for the style, but not by a whole lot. Had a little bit of creaminess. It's not really alcoholic. Carbonation levels were pretty good. Yeah, it did all right in the mouth front.
Yeah.
Mouthfeel.
Yep. All right, let's give a little virtual score to this thing. What's your overall?
Furiously writing.
I really enjoy the beer. I think it has. I would like to see it with a little bit more carbonation, which I believe is appropriate for the style. I do get a kind of a tart thing, which I think Brian spoke on a little bit earlier. But overall, I think it's a pretty well-made beer. I'd probably throw it a 30. I'd say 30.
Did you say a 30?
I'd say 30.
Say 30.
Well, it depends on what you guys say. I have as the host, I have the ability to change my score at any time.
Well, I was giving it a 30, actually, so you may need to change that. I don't know.
Shit. All right.
Damn it.
32. I want to be better.
I thought it was a pretty decent example of the style. A little bit of that, synergistic stuff going on, but to me, to really kind of get... you got to give some latitude for the style. It's probably a little on the slightly pale and low body side compared to a classic like the Deconic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little lighter and drier seeming than some of these that I'm remembering, but it's reasonably well balanced. It is more about the malt and the yeast than about the hops, which is kind of what a Belgian pale ale is supposed to be. It's not a hop beer, like the American or the English versions of the pale ale. And it's fairly clean. I was getting a little acetaldehyde, other people weren't. There's a few little things. There's nothing major wrong with it. It's actually a pretty decent beer. 30 is not a bad score. That's kind of where I'm putting it. Pretty good beer.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I would give it around a 33 here. It's it's in the, if you look at the scoring guide, if you have a beer score sheet in front of you from bjcep.org, the scoring guide at the bottom left, outstanding is the top level, 45 to 50, excellent, 38 to 44. Then I would, agree that this falls in the very good category. 30 is the low end of that. I'd put it more towards the middle range of that, which a 33 falls into. So 30 to 37 would be very good. And what that means is you can read to the right of that, generally within style parameters, some minor flaws. So it is hitting, there's no major defects jumping out at me, and it's generally within the style parameters, but it's not quite there as far as, I think this beer could benefit from being just a little bit drier and rounding out the malt character a little bit, and just maybe drying it out just a little bit more. Do we know what it finished at?
10-12.
10-12, okay.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's where it should probably fall, yeah. And the starting gravity was?
1050.
Okay, you're right in the range there for numbers, so yeah, great job on that. And yeah, maybe it's my lack of experiencing this style in a while. I'll defer to Lee for these Belgian styles here. He knows, and you've been there many times, I think, too, as has Jeff. So
once,
many times,
twice.
Between the two of you, you've been there.
I don't remember the first time.
Okay, yeah, but it's
Jeff, what are your thoughts? You agree with everything Brian says, or should we kick him off the show?
No, we got to kick him off the show. For me, I think I'd probably go a little bit lower. I think a lot of times when I look at the scale, the score sheets, and for me, I think going into the very good character category is probably a little bit too much for this one. I think it's probably good. There's some astringency that I don't really like, and I think that was some of the character I was talking about at the beginning. So I'm probably around a 28. It's just right now sitting. I'm licking my teeth because my lips are sticking to my teeth. So I think going for another sip for me is is something I want to have out of that, and maybe a little bit of the malt character. I don't know if he over sparge or what that character is that's coming through, but that's why I'd mark it down a little bit.
Yeah, maybe
I get some of that.
Yeah, maybe it's part of matter of the balance, but I would look for a little bit more malt character in this, a little more upfront maltiness, maybe some more toasty, kind of melanoidy, Munich-y malt flavors, Munich-y sort of stuff, to really hit that style properly. It just doesn't have that much of it in the nose and the flavor compared to some of the ones that I've remembered in the past.
So richness in the malt, yeah.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
It's the malt that's there is pleasant, but it's not extremely complex, and it is kind of a little bit one dimensional. But yeah, again, just smooth drinking, and it's kind of just comes across as a sweetness and a very malty beer, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean that kind of leads into the recipe, right? So trying to figure out where you might be able to add a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have your recipe handy, Andrew?
Yep.
Why don't you fire that off for us?
All right, base malt's 11 pounds of a Pilsner malt. I just used the Great Western. That's what I had next time I do it, or do a Belgian Pilsner. So 11 pounds of that, half pound of the Belgian caramel Vienna malt, half pound of Belgian biscuit, and then basically to get the color, I did 3 ounces of a Belgian coffee malt, which, I mean, you could use another malt for color. I mainly used it for color to get that color up, because it's about like 10 to 14 SRM is supposed to be, something like that.
8 to 14.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just used in Pilsner malt and small part of caramel malt and biscuit malt. It's not going to get you there, so I threw in a few ounces of this coffee malt. Okay.
And then what about your hops?
East Kent Golding's at 60 an ounce, 5.5% alpha acid, and then Czech Saz at 10 minutes, 3% alpha acid, and that's 0.4 of an ounce.
Okay. So based on that, guys, what do you think? How could he dial this in a little bit more to style?
Well, I would bump up the Cara Vienna, Cara Munich editions. Just put more of those in. You up to the point where maybe you don't even need the darker. What was the coffee malt you said you had? Yeah. Just add more of those. It'll give you the color. It'll give you the flavor. It'll give you some more body. For me, that's basically what you need to really bring this beer up the next level.
So what does that look like for him? Is that doubling what he's got, or how far would you go?
At least doubling, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to sit down and work off the math and the color and the residuals and everything. But yeah, half a pound of each. Was this a 5 gallon or 10 gallon?
5 gallon.
5 gallon. Yeah, maybe doubling. It sounds a little low for getting the malt character and the flavor. I mean, it should be a pretty prominently malty, toasty nose to this thing, along with the yeast character.
Yeah, I mean, I could throw in a couple pounds of Munich or something, sub out a couple of pounds of the Pilsner malt. Probably get more of the bready toastiness you're talking about.
Yeah, that would be great. And it's not bad as it is. It's just a little lower. This is one of those styles. Again, sometimes it's a little too pinned to one beer. So we should give you more latitude maybe than just trying to hit that one thing. And it's not bad on its own as it is. But
no, not at all.
If you want to hit that one beer and kind of go down the middle of the style here, that's some more of those toastier, richer malts would do it. And even if you stay with this sort of paler color, something maybe even some dextrin malt or something, just to bring up the body a little bit would really help this.
Yeah, so when you're in Belgium, in the back of the Decon Brewery, just grab a bag of that malt and throw it in your suitcase on the way back. And bring it back, take our advice and use the same recipe with the adjustments we'll discuss today, and that's your assignment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, or have a better understanding of the style once I go there, because it's pretty much a shot in the dark right now. I mean, there's only a few that you can really get.
Yeah.
At least I can get, so.
Jeff, what about you, man?
Yeah, no, I think... I agree. I think moving the malt, adding more of that, I think gives it kind of that richer, maltier, toastier kind of character. I think that's probably what this needs. If I think about kind of the range of the style, this Deconic is kind of the classic one. But even if you go all the way down towards the Ommegang Rivas, that has a really rich kind of character to it. So somewhere in between those two, I think you'd have a really nice drinking beer.
Great. I would say, I think you can, I don't know if you can taste the coffee malt, because now that you said the word coffee, any of the darker flavors I'm kind of getting out of the beers, I'm going, that's coffee.
If you taste that coffee malt, it doesn't even taste like coffee.
Yeah, it's a mental, it's my brain rebelling. I would mainly just say, use like a Belgian Pils malt. Yeah. I know you had the American, but I think the base malt really kind of will help push those Belgian flavors over. The kind of more perfumey base malt.
Yeah, I cheaped out on it this time. Next time I make it, or source some Belgian Pils.
That's fine. Have a turkey leg at Disneyland, and it'll make up for it, man.
What's the official JP score for this beer?
The official JP score was a 30.
Yeah.
I mean, even though you went up to a 33, you deviated. But I'd say a 30.
We're still, within 5 points, so we're good.
Yeah.
It'll average out to low 30s or 30, yeah.
Andrew, do you have any questions for these guys before we let you go and actually have fun?
Yeah, thanks. I agree with a few things you said. I mean,
just a few.
Toasting bready up, and maybe up a little more of the phenolics and stuff. I thought it was fruity, but it was pretty subtle for Belgian character. I used the Yeast 3522. So a lot of people that don't even like Belgian beers seem to like it. So it's pretty subtle on that part. But
what was your fermentation temp?
66.
Yeah, and for a Belgian, this style tends to be pretty restrained on some of the funkier, the phenolics and stuff. I mean, that's moderate. The fruitiness is better, and you could probably get some of that out of those caramels. Will help add some of that too. The only other thing I'd wonder about is, we're picking up some astringency, some of us here, and you might watch, try and keep your sparge temperature down or the pH in the right range, that sort of thing. Now check how that's going for your mash system. Make sure you're not getting anything out that way.
Yeah, I use the 5.2. I don't have a pH meter though, but could always invest in one, check it out. But try to keep it 166, 168 most of the time. So
yeah, that should do it.
Cool. Right on. Well, if that's it, Andrew, I really appreciate you pulling off some beer for us, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
And if I could just give you a tip, if you like mixed drinks, the Carthay Lounge in downtown Disney California Adventure, $9.50 for rye Manhattans. They're real good.
All right.
All right, buddy.
Good.
Take it easy.
All right, you too.
All right, thanks. Yeah, that's a good beer.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth drinking. I for nitpicking and going, talking about all the little things where it may fail for the style a little bit here or there. It's very pleasant overall, and you could sip this beer, no problem.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll have our second in-studio guest, Rylan, with his, what the hell was it, wheat wine? Wheat wine, I can't wait for this one.
Wheat wine.
When we come back, Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, dude, you know what beer this is?
Oh, no, all the labels are falling off.
Yeah, or the ink is run.
Well, if it's the pale ale, you're good, but stay away from the quote-unquote Belgian.
Oh, man, this guy needs to get some grog tags.
Grog tags are reusable, write-on, wipe-off, commercial-grade bottle labels for your brew. The guys at Grog Tag are homebrewers. They wanted great-looking, sturdy labels for your bottles, buckets, carboys, kegs, and growlers. They also wanted a label that not only looks good, but can be easily removed and reapplied during bottling without that nasty glue residue being left behind. No residue, water-resistant, and ice chest approved. Grog tags stay on in water or in ice chest, and they stay legible. Visit grogtag.com to customize your label or coaster from dozens of different templates for free and see how awesome your bottles can look.
It's that pseudo-Belgian.
Yeah, we're getting him some grog tags, dude.
Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good. grogtag.com.
Uncles from abroad. Yes, I never met him.
All right, and welcome back to Dr. Homebrew. We're just hanging out in the studio drinking some wheat wine from our next guest, Rylan. Alan, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thanks, JP.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out, buddy. Appreciate it. So tell me about a wheat wine. What is that? I'm just going to be right. Just jump right in. What's a wheat wine?
It's the beer we're drinking. It's a name that my buddy Mark, a different Mark, that was on the show, coined for it. Seemed appropriate enough, so we went with it. It's a beer brewed in the style of Hefeweizen to some degree.
Okay. And that it has wheat?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. How long have you been brewing?
About 2 years.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right in the wheelhouse of just doing a lot of experimental beers. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking at the break, and something I should know as a BJCP judge, but I'm an idiot. There's really no category for a wheat wine. So what are you looking to get out of this? Are you looking to get just a better tasting beer, round some flavors, or what do you want?
To me, I would like to get out of this some great feedback from the panel here. I don't really know what's going on in this beer, so I'd like to kind of be able to better quantify it with the help of everyone here.
Sure, that sounds good. And you include everybody, even me, and I appreciate that. That's very nice.
Even JP.
Even you, JP, that's great. And for a beer that defies classification, this should be a good one to judge. Everyone's still mulling over their beers.
You mulled your beer?
Yeah, put a little cinnamon stick. A potpourri bag I got at Ross.
Ross is good.
Tell me about this aroma, Brian.
Well, when I first approached it, I got a light sherry-like component, which you can get from a good barley wine when it's from a little bit of the oxidation in there. But it's good oxidation is a light sherry-like. There's not that much of that, and that was just kind of a little note that I hit.
Is it hot in here, or is it just my beer?
The malt is
that's warm beer.
Yeah, it is.
The malt aroma is pretty smooth and light. It doesn't scream wheat to me, but I mean wheat is kind of a subtle element too. So I get kind of a minerally thing in the aroma a little bit. I don't know what if the minerals are jumping out of the beverage. There is or kind of a well, there's definitely a big fruitiness. So it's like a lot of orangey esters and kind of a Meyer lemon like aroma in there, and the esters are pretty prominent. The alcohol aroma is there, but it's you're
getting a kind of spicy noble hop character to it.
The hops are definitely it seems like I would characterize it as kind of a spicy hop. It's not super high like a big dry hopped beer or like a smell of Lagunitas, a little something. It's not like that. It doesn't jump out at you, and maybe it could benefit from more of that, but yeah, it's I'm getting maybe a little bit of kind of a vegetal-like character to it, kind of a cooked vegetable, kind of canned, lightly cabbage-like kind of thing in there. Not high, just a little bit of that, but
just enough to.
There's something a little distracting in there. What are you guys picking out over there? Let's get Lee to throw out some descriptors.
Well, and for aroma, mostly I was getting smelled a little sweet, a little bready, got a lot of alcohol, a lot of spicy character with that, spicy alcohols. Maybe there was some hop component to that. I wasn't sure. Yeah. Maybe there was even some phenols going on. I wasn't really sure. Be curious to find out later what kind of yeast you use in here. I wasn't really picking up any DMS or diacetyl or any vegetal in the nose, although it's been changing a lot as this warms up in my glass. It probably poured a little on the cold side. It's just changing over time a lot. I was getting a little bit of maybe some hints of banana and cherry. I mean, when Brian said Meyer lemon, it's really sort of keeping this big kind of dried lemon character to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it also smelled maybe a little bit warty, like it maybe hadn't quite finished fermenting out all the way. Not a lot, but I mean that might have been kind of that sweetness sort of coming through as it warms up a bit. I mean, that's kind of what I was picking up for the aroma.
Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit of there's some graininess. That I think when these guys started talking about the cherry, I kind of get almost like a Luden's cough drop thing, little dry cherry aspect to that. There's definitely a spicy hop character to me, with kind of a noble hop character. I think that pops out, and there's definitely some alcohol. You can kind of smell the alcohol coming off it.
Yeah, it's like kind of a fruit skin kind of thing. Like that. Maybe what I'm calling minerally is kind of like that dark fruit skin kind of like it smells like a dried fruit a little bit, like a dried cherry kind of thing.
Yeah, like red grape skins that are still dusty.
Yeah, apple skins or something. Yeah,
apple skin. There's apple in every beer tonight.
No, there's a lot going on in the aroma for this. It's very entertaining.
It does, and it does kind of change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely changing as it warms up and swirl it around and flatten the beer out a bit. It gets different aromas all the time.
Yeah, there's definitely a blanket of aroma coming off it. It's hard. I mean, it's hard not to smell a lot of things in this.
Yeah, but the spiciness is a big component of that, and it's hard to tell if it is. It probably is from the alcohol and maybe less from the hops. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Spicy is kind of almost the main characteristic here. Spicy is sort of a base kind of wheat malt, wheaty bready kind of character.
Yep.
And the the appearance is slightly cloudy, but I think that would be, consistent with a wheat wine, right? Something that's heavily wheated.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty clear for
it's moderately clear. It's not. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of haze in there, but it's not intense at all. You can see through it, and it's got some highlights, kind of yellowy highlights. It's kind of a orangey hued beer. It's a orangey light amber with a kind of moderate off-white head that faded pretty quickly because of the strength of the beer. So that's forgivable in this kind of a beer. Yeah. Kind of fine to middle-sized bubbles and still ringing the glass a little bit because we're swirling the heck out of this.
Yeah, we're all just like diving after the nose in this. We're swirling it like crazy. It had a very good size, nice creamy looking head when it was poured, though.
Yeah, I agree. Nice when you pour it.
Yeah. No, it's a fairly pretty looking light beer.
Yeah, I think so too.
Light in color.
Let's move to the flavor because I have a feeling that we're gonna have a lot to say about this one.
Yeah, spicy stuff again.
Yeah.
Lots of spicy. Alcohols, maybe some hops, not really sure. A little bit of cherry, banana kind of esters, maybe. It was very low, kind of bready wheat malt again. Again, it seemed a little bit sweet. There was some hop showing here. Not so much a flavor, although a little confused about that spiciness, I guess. But definitely had some bittering. Not strong, but it was just like a step more than just enough to balance. And I think that actually worked pretty nicely here, to have just a little touch of bittering in there. And I picked up maybe a little bit of that kind of sherry oxidation character that Brian had mentioned, and maybe a whisper of DMS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get a little bit of that too. Jeff, do you find that?
Yeah, I mean, I would go a little bit farther on Lee. You would say it's almost like it's kind of a firm bitterness to it. It's definitely it's strong. It's not sweet. And then as you let it kind of sit there, that spiciness and the heat from the alcohol kind of sits there at the back of your throat. It's a warming beer for sure. But I called it noble hops. I'm not sure exactly where that spice is coming from, but it has that kind of character. It has that very spicy noble hop character with a little bit of kind of clove, phenolic, kind of almost like a white pepper going on in it.
Yeah, I agree with the kind of more peppery than clove-like, I would say, and the spiciness and the spiciness from the alcohol. Not necessarily higher alcohols, although sometimes higher alcohols can be described as kind of a slightly spicy, if they're not too intense before they get to the kind of really crazy, solventy lacquer-like kind of level. If they're light, they can just be a little spicy on the higher alcohol front. Getting kind of a mandarin orange fruitiness here in the middle palate. It's just kind of, but balanced by the bitterness, which is again, like you guys said, it's kind of nice, kind of medium to medium high bitterness, balancing all that's going on in there. There's a lot to dig into in this beer. I thought I got kind of a minerally character in the water, but it may be, again, just that the spiciness and everything that's going on kind of distracting me with the bitterness with all that fruit and the spiciness. It kind of combines to make this effect that's pretty intense and a little biting. and that extends into the mouthfeel as well with some warmth and some slight bitingness, some astringency in there. Not overly high astringency, but are we into mouthfeel yet? Are we still on flavor? Let's stay on flavor for a while.
Let's stay on flavor. I think a testament to how much this is changing. When I first tried it, and before I say the flavor I got, it wasn't offensive at all, which is weird. I got baked beans.
Baked beans,
like Boston baked bean, like Franks and beans kind of thing, and it was good. And then now that it kind of fades away, there's less of that kind of bean barbecue bacon kind of thing, but there's a savory sweetness that's kind of happening that I is kind of slightly reminiscent of baked beans.
Umami glutamates,
which I really enjoy, and I don't know if anybody's getting it or not.
I can sort of see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say baked beans right off the bat, but yeah, it's got some kind of almost starchy, almost smoky, fatty kind of flavors going on in the background here.
Yeah. Now that it's warmed up, that the more intense, like, oh my god, this is exactly what it is. That's kind of faded, and I have to search for it a little bit. But when it was colder, man, that's what I got. That was my first impression, and I liked it, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's the thing. For all we're picking out all these kind of bizarre, I can't even call most of them off flavors because there's not so much a style here. But this is a very drinkable, very nice beer. I mean, drinkable to a point. It's probably 10% plus.
Right.
But yeah.
I agree.
And the closest thing to probably, so it's really hard to judge a beer like this in some ways because there is no style. You're kind of free form, but probably the closest place to put this is just as a barley wine.
Okay.
With wheat flavor, with wheat malt in it.
All right.
And probably a lighter barley wine.
Could you do
the color.
like a Cat 23 also, or?
Well, that's probably where you'd enter it. But
Yeah.
Approaching it as a judge, what is it?
I see
Cat
what you're
23, it's open space. It's not even a base style per se, but a wheat wine. I just sort of call it like a barley wine.
I see. Okay.
But go for character that's going to have wheat character to it, and which might. Yeah, and maybe some more interesting ferment character, and I'm not sure why that would be. You could use clean yeast and get something that should be clean, but it just seems to come out different when there's that much wheat in there.
Yeah,
I've had a few wheat wines before, and they do this. This is definitely a similar tasting beer to most of those.
Okay,
there always tends to be this kind of spiciness there, and I'm not quite sure why. We'll have to quiz Rylan on what he did with this.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff, do you have any comments on flavor?
No, I think I hit the flavor. Rolling into mouthfeel, I guess.
Okay, move on in.
Medium-high carbonation, it's fuzzy, effervescent kind of in your mouth. It kind of, it explodes a bit as it sits on your tongue, certainly in the beginning. And I had to take off my jacket because it's warming. The bald guys can tell, man, there's a little sweat in the top of the head. It's
a little bit.
It's definitely a hot, warming beer for sure.
I agree with that. What about you guys?
I wrote a bit hot warming. Even before Jeff said that.
Jeff's
I didn't write anything else in mouthfeel. Just
from 2 chairs away, he's on it.
Warming. There is a bit of astringency in there, but that's probably from whatever's driving those kind of spicy, the phenolics that are driving those spicy flavors in there. I don't know, or it could be a sparging thing. It could be a little oversparged, perhaps, but not distractingly so. The body is pretty full, medium full, I would say, and the carbonation is pretty firm and medium high. There's a very, very strong amount of warmth in there. It is a bit hot, but not. It's warming, but a bit hot. I think that's what I meant by my comments. I was kind of frantically writing as we're getting ready for this segment. But yeah, it's. I don't know what should a wheat wine have for mouthfeel. I would imagine it should be fall, and maybe it shouldn't have too much carbonation, but with everything else you have going on there, that could be something that would just push up the flavors a little too much, and
that spiciness. The
carbon dioxide is pulling these flavors out of the beer and depositing them on your tongue and in your nose, and the aromas and the flavors, and it drives off a lot when you have a really strong beer. There aren't many of them that are highly carbonated as well.
Right. Lee, do you have anything to add to mouthfeel? Or do you think the other guys got it?
Pretty much on. I mean, again, I would approach it more as a barley wine that has wheat in it, so you want a big, rich beer with a lot of alcohol, warming, not too hot, really. I mean, not like solventy, bad alcohols. There's a little edge of that here, but not that much. I guess I wasn't picking up as much as the other guys. It had some nice creaminess to it. I wasn't getting that much astringency, but it's definitely a lot of drying, which I think is the alcohol. But it's a body and a mouthfeel like this would be well in place for a barley wine. So I think it's doing pretty well there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to overall impression and give it a little score here, a little Dr. Homebrew score. Who wants to start? Who wants to start the
savagery?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Who wants to start the scoring here? Let's make Jeff do it. He's scratching his.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head on this one. This is the category 23 is kind of hard to go at. It's a lot of times for me, it's what do I really think about the beer and what I want to sit here and drink it. I think it's interesting, as beer geeks tend to say a lot of times on beers, because it's just like there's so much going on in it. My overall impression. With the wheat, for me, I think a lot of times with wheat beers, I want the high carbonation, but this one with the high carbonation throws off a lot of the kind of funky, spicy esters or something. My overall impression on it, I'm not sure what I would change on it necessarily. But it's not. Again, when we look at kind of the scoring guidelines, I don't know that it's necessarily very good. It's a good beer. I don't get a lot of crazy stuff. I'm probably in the neighborhood of, I would say probably 26.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably about where I am with it.
Okay. Lee?
Well, I would say, again, from the barley wine viewpoint, it's got the body, it's got the mouthfeel, it's got the size, it's a lot of alcohol. It's very, very well done on that front. And while there's nowhere to shoot for stylistically by guidelines, so you're just sort of left for what you like and what you think's interesting and what other ones have you had, I think this one does pretty well. It's, as Jeff said, it's interesting. It's spicy. It's complex. You get more things as you let it warm up. It's a very entertaining beer. This is something I'd be completely happy to sit and drink drink slowly by the fire at night with a book sort of thing. It just doesn't stop giving more and more flavor.
What's a book?
A book?
Yeah. It's on your Kindle, right, or something?
That's a good start. We may have to explain this later. It's going to take too much time.
Right.
And maybe there's a few little off flavors here, a little bit of DMS. Maybe it's a little bit wordy under fermented, but no, they're not big problems in this beer. A little oxidation. As I said, I find this so entertaining. I really like it. I was going to give this a 35, and if it was lacking those little issues, might go higher than that.
Wow.
It's a good beer. I like it.
All right. Brian, you're up, dude.
I kind of fell in the middle of these guys on it. I'd had some nice things going for it, and the light little sherry-like thing I liked up front. There was so much going on, and the spiciness is just very intense, and I don't know, I'd like to know what yeast was used for it when we get into the recipe here, but it was very spicy. I've had wheat wines that were less spicy, and they were a little more clean drinking and smoother and easier, and the sweetness kind of came out a little more. So this one is balanced toward the spice. I would rather have it kind of balanced toward the sweetness and the clean wheatiness that you can get from some beers that are called wheat wines. I've had only a few in my life, and they've all been homebrewed. The oranginess was interesting. I like the kind of mandarin orange, Meyer lemon, and darker fruit thing, and the cherry skins kind of thing. I gave it a 29, 6 for aroma, 2 for appearance, 12 for flavor, 3 for mouthfeel, and 6 for overall impression. I think I kind of already talked about what I would do to improve it, but I would maybe try a different yeast strain with it and pitch a big healthy dose of it, and just make sure you're not stressing out your yeast, because the yeast can kick out some funky flavors and spiciness. I think that I'm not sure where the spiciness is coming from. It might be from the wheat itself. I know that rye is a spicy a grain. I don't think of wheat as being as spicy, but maybe at the intensity that we're at with it, it could be pushing that up in combination with some other things. I'm really not sure where that's coming from, so it's hard to give feedback on how to, dial back the spiciness. It could be also fermentation temperature. Your yeast can kick off some phenols and different things. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
I agree with the spicy comment that kind of rolls into mine. I gave it a 29. I gave it a 29. I just bumped it from 27. For me, there was too much of that spice, and like you, I wish I knew where it was coming from. It could be the stressed yeast. I don't know. We will get into the recipe here in just a second. But I thought it was a very enjoyable beer. I thought it was also entertaining beer too.
Totally entertaining.
There was a lot going on, and you never really quite knew where it was coming from, and you had to work at the beer to figure it out. And I think that's enjoyable for a crowd like this. So that's definitely a Beer Geeks beer, I think.
Absolutely.
It's very drinkable too. For being fairly big, it's also fairly dry.
Yeah,
this stuff goes down. It's almost like a triple. It's
right.
kind of dangerous to how easily this will go down.
Yeah,
and if you like Belgian beers, that spiciness might be up your alley. I mean, if it's your thing, then yeah, that could be what you're going for. And spice balanced with fruitiness is kind of what, if you look at it from a wheat beer perspective too, could be what German wheat beer is all about, the banana balanced off the clove. So this is a different kind of spiciness balanced off a different kind of fruitiness, but it still is in that realm,
So can you get some of that spiciness out of sanitation issues too?
You could get some phenols kicked off from different not cleaning everything entirely well before you ferment, and when your beer is cooled down and you want just your yeast to be fermenting it, then you want to have the cleanliness and the sanitation up to the standards of a world-class homebrewer such as all of us here.
Yeah,
such as everyone in this room.
No, I mean, I would say that you could, but if the phenols as strong, or the spiciness as strong as it is here, was from some sort of contaminating bug causing phenols, everything else would come with that. Would make this
they would probably
awful.
They would be more medicinal in nature and more Band-Aid like, maybe, and different kinds of phenols.
So different kind of phenols.
Compared to these spicy ones are more pleasant than that.
Yeah, we wouldn't be wondering if there's a bit of DMS or vegetal in there. It would be like, get this away from me. Yeah, it'd be awful.
But that's a good thing to note. And a lot of these beers, I usually talk about homebrews on the other shows, and sanitation is usually clearly the issue in beers that I get, and I didn't have any of that today. So it's good to know that there's a good cleaning regimen out there. Rylan, why don't you go ahead and give us your recipe, man, if you wouldn't mind?
No, not at all. Thank you, everyone. Well, this started as for about a year and a half. Excuse me, a year and a half. I've been making wheat beers pretty consistently, so it's pretty much the same recipe. And I took a spin on it at the very end. So what I ended up doing was kind of following what I read from How to Brew, Ray Daniels, I think. Yeah. In the back,
that's John Palmer. Yeah. Ray Daniels. Designing Great Beers.
Designing Great Beers, then is the book I was referring to. Mm-hmm. And in the back of his book, he has the Weizen section. And during that year when he wrote the book, what beers won, it ended up being an extract recipe that did 2 parts wheat malt to 1 part base malt, basically. Yeah. So that's kind of how I brew my wheat beers. That's kind of why they tend to be a little bit darker. But 8.5 pounds of wheat malt, which is about 50% of the grist, 4.5 pounds Pilsner, 3 pounds Munich malt, 1.5 pounds 6-row lager malt.
All right. What about your hops?
I used what I had available, which and tried to get the most noble-like at the time. It was Glacier, so kind of like a Fuggle American variety.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And this is a 5-gallon batch?
This is a 5-gallon batch.
Well, let's move into your yeast. I think your fermentation profile is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I originally started using Wine and Steffen back when I was saying I started brewing wheat beers, 3068. I got a lot of banana out of it, and so kind of as an alternative, I tried a different yeast strain, which was 3638 Bavarian wheat. And that's what this is. This is built up, I think, 5 or 6 generations of a yeast layer. So I did about 5 to 5.5% Weizens before I ended up brewing this beer. And so I was basically trying two parts with this beer on experimentation. I wanted to see how long and what the consistency level was like with building up yeast layer generation after generation, see how far I could take it. Then I'd incrementally increase the ABV while doing that. And then also, as I was talking with another home brewer who works at Brewmaster, Marcus, he did a Bavarian, he called it a Bavarian, or Bananarama Imperial Wheat, and it was like a 10.5% super smooth beer. And he told me his mash procedure, so I replicated it in my version, which was basically just mashing over like 4 hours, really, basically like a pilot light.
Yeah.
Starting at 90 degrees, going up to your sparge temp, 165, 170.
It's a really long, slow ramp up. Huh?
Wow.
That is correct.
Wow. What'd you get for the efficiency on this?
I was getting up to about 90%, but the day I was boiling, it was really cold, so I kind of got, and it was a work night, so I actually had to call it a night and start cooling it off quickly. On a 100-minute boil, I was probably about, 5 3/4 or maybe 6 gallons. I was right around 84% efficiency. If I would have boiled down to 5.2, I might have gotten in the 90% efficiency range, but I was about 84%.
Wow.
So when on your boil there, how much hops did you put in, and how long were you boiling it for?
So I have the schedule here: 70-minute, 1 ounce, 5.1% alpha acid for Glacier, 1.5 ounces. These are all whole petals, whole leaf. Excuse me. 1.5 ounces for 35 minutes, 1.5 ounces at 30 minutes, and then 1 ounce at like 10 minutes. 1 ounce, excuse me.
So how many IBUs was that?
About 44, 45.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was the OG on this?
It was 1091.
Down to
1010.
Down to 1010.
Wow.
Okay.
There's your booze.
And based off of as I've repeated this recipe over and over again, this is the most spicy or peppery that I've ever had. So most of the time I'm more on the banana ester side. So I might attribute this pepperiness. Maybe we'd want to focus more on it being produced maybe from the alcohol. I don't know, because it's never been this spicy in this kind of experiment that I've been working on.
Even with that same yeast strain?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Huh.
Yeah, well, you propagated the whole cake like 5 times on this. The yeast could go somewhere new doing that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. You could got something kind of novel here. Who knows?
Well, you got any questions for the guys, Riley? About this beer, or you pretty much got it covered?
I don't have it covered, but where I would like to maybe follow Brian was he was saying he's tried some other wheat wines in the past. If I could kind of get a quick feel for what those other wines were like.
Yeah, I guess, when I was first tasting it, I didn't know what you were going for. I guess you did kind of say something about wheat beer inspiration, but I wasn't sure if you were talking about American wheat beers or German wheat beers until you mentioned your yeast. So now, to me, the yeast character and what I'm picking out as the spice and fruit is kind of what's driving the flavor profile here, and it's a very Bavarian style, although a little twisted. It's like the spices are clove-like in some aspects, and there's some pepperiness in there, and some interesting spice going on, but the more orangey than I'm not getting any banana, but more orangey and lemony, and your yeast could mutate a little bit over time and over that many generations and change a character based on what you're putting on it, and I would try the same thing with maybe just a big starter instead and see if it what it compares like to this. This was obviously kind of an experiment beer, and it's a cool experiment.
Yeah,
but keep doing it and try different yeast. Try it with an American yeast sometime and see what the underlying flavor, because with the more neutral yeast you'll get the malt versus hop profile a little more cleanly, and you'll be able to determine where you're at with that and what you like about what ingredients you're using, and maybe bump something in there I think, yeah.
I wonder what it would be like with a wine yeast. Actual wine yeast.
Yeah.
Be interesting.
Well, it already dried out to 1010, which is, from that 1091 to 1010 is a pretty big drop and a pretty dry. I'm almost surprised that it's that low on the finishing gravity because, it does have a perception of sweetness. It's not overtly sweet, but the big fruitiness makes you feel like it's sweet.
Yeah. Good enough? You all set?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, man. We'll be back with I'm going to steal Jerry Springer. Our final thought of the day. Dr. Homebrew back after this.
Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like AHA member deals that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and eZymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love, and access to the members-only content on homebrewersassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your homebrewing rights. Visit homebrewersassociation.org or join now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association.
Boys Club. Boys Club. Boys Club. Boys Club.
All right, don't get too excited out there, everybody. This is not that other show. This is Dr. Homebrew. And we're here to wrap up, do a little wrap-up segment with a couple beers that we had. First was our Belgian Pale from our friend Andrew in the happiest place on earth, right next door to Disneyland. What kind of tips did we have for Andrew? I know he did mention he used 5.2 from 5-Star, and I think that went that definitely can't hurt. Probably helped him more than hurt him, right?
Yeah, the water character seemed fine, and I didn't detect any big astringency problems or anything like that you would get from having your pH off in the mash. So yeah, cleanly brewed beer. The malt character was a little lacking. I would try to use some authentic ingredients, just replacing that American base malt, which is fine for an American pale ale, but for a Belgian pale ale, you want to use that nice the Belgian Pilsner malt as your base. And as Lee, I liked Lee's suggestion of bumping up a little bit of Munich in there or some Vienna or something to just increase that malt complexity with some of those other malts and not get too crazy with it, but just give it a little something to chew into there. The malt was a little one dimensional, but it was otherwise a clean beer and nicely fruity. Some interesting esters in there, apricot and orange and pear, and it was a fun beer. I liked it.
All right, and then this wheat wine with Ryland. One thing I think we all talked about is try more things. Experiment more. Yeah. If like you were saying, Brian, if it's an experiment, keep doing it because it came out pretty darn good.
Tweak different things and try pitching a big healthy starter of something else, different kind of, or the same yeast, and then try different ones and see which one you might land on. It might be you were told something one way in a book or something else someone else did, and that might not be what you like, or But yeah, I think for the style, barley wine it should be closer to a barley wine than a Weizenbock or something, and we were kind of talking about that on the break. You could go Weizenbock, but then I'll just make a Weizenbock. Or you could go more barley wine-like, maybe increase the malt complexity on this one a little bit too, and try adding some different malts to it and see what happens when you do it. Just do one thing at a time, or maybe two if you kind of know where you're going with it, and tweak it until you like it.
Yeah, I think try to find a way to isolate that the spicy character that came out in that last experiment. I think that's the thing. Try to do the healthy pitch. Don't build the cake up. See if that's the thing that's causing that spicy character come through.
Yeah, all right. All in all, I think we did a good job. I think we helped some beers out, and we definitely had some beers. And I think what we're going to do is going to go blend that Weizenbock from Jeff with this wheat wine from Ryland and see if who can't get a DUI first. Rylan, thanks for coming in, man. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. And then Andrew out there, enjoy Disneyland, dude.
Enjoy it.
Have that in Manhattan. I swear to God, it's real good, especially for $9.50.
Have fun at the brewery
or whatever.
What a value.
Pretty good.
The mouse takes care of his people.
Hell yeah. Oh, man. And the cars land at night, dude, and they have dill pickled popcorn. Sure you're... All right, everybody, this has been Dr. Homebrew. If you want to be a guest on Dr. Homebrew, like our very handsome guests, Jeff and Rylan, email me at jp@thebrewingnetwork.com, and we'll get you sorted out when the next show is. Until then, take it easy, everybody.